there is an unelected billionaire who should not and will not have a greater voice than the working people of Wisconsin.
Kamala Harris just went full savage on Elon Musk and Donald Trump during a live TV showdown. No script, no holds barred. Musk froze, Trump fumed, and the internet erupted. Was it a debate or a roast session? Who took the bigger hit? Stay tuned, because this might be the wildest political mic drop of the year.
Donald Trump intends to take America backward to the failed policies of the past. He has no intention to grow our middle class. He's only interested in making life better for himself and people like himself. You can see it spelled out in his economic agenda. An agenda that gives trillions of dollars in tax cuts to billionaires and the biggest corporations, while raising taxes on the middle class by almost $4,000 a year.
Kamala Harris has stepped into the ring, and she's not holding back with her choice words for her favorite targets, Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Picture this, a high-stakes live TV moment where Kamala's sharp wit and biting sarcasm slice through, but the tension like a hot knife through butter. And of course, the usual suspects, Elon and Trump, don't stand a chance.
You all are working on behalf of an individual, a candidate in Judge Crawford, who will always fight to protect your freedoms and your rights, including your right to organize and advocate for fair wages and working conditions that are safe, and who will protect your right to make decisions about your own body without government interference.
We all know the type of guy Donald Trump is. The man has built a career on being the loud, obnoxious uncle at every family gathering. The one who insists he knows everything from foreign policy to golf without actually knowing anything. Trump's same talent for talking without saying a single meaningful word is truly an art form. And then there's Kamala Harris. She's a master at calling that out. But Kamala didn't just step into the ring with a couple of jabs. Oh no, she came fully loaded with an entire arsenal of shade. Trump has been strutting around like he's some kind of business genius, as if the only thing he's ever successfully managed is running his mouth.
We're saying people stay quiet. We are seeing organizations stay quiet. We are seeing those who are capitulating to clearly unconstitutional threats. And these are the things that we are witnessing each day in these last few months in our country. And it understandably creates a great sense of fear. Because, there were many things that we knew.
Take Trump's so-called leadership in the White House. It's one thing to make empty promises, but it's another to completely mess them up. Under his watch, the economy was like a roller coaster, except it was all downhill. And don't even get me started on his unique approach to global relations. His version of diplomacy seemed to be, let's do it my way, and if it fails, I'll just blame someone else.
Slashing overtime pay, throwing tens of millions of Americans off of health care, and cutting Social Security and Medicare. In sum, his agenda would weaken the economy and hurt working people and the middle class.
And let's not forget his expertise in science. Oh wait, I need to stop right there. Trump has made it crystal clear that the only science he's interested in is science fiction. Climate change? Nah, just a hoax. But Kamala, she had no issue calling him out for this disastrous performance, and she did it in the most polite yet savage way imaginable.
The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies. Someone who has openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails, because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him.
It's up to the American people.
But Kamala's roast didn't stop at the Trump family circus. Oh no, she wasn't done. Of course, she had to throw in a jab at the man who somehow convinced the world he's the next Tony Stark, Elon Musk. Musk may have taken over Twitter and turned it into his personal playground, but Kamala's not fooled. She knows exactly what's going on with him. Musk loves to push the dream of a greener, futuristic world through Tesla, but it's hard to take him seriously when it seems like the only thing he truly cares about is how many zeros he can stack in his bank account. And don't even get started on his Twitter antics.
The only reason we're having this hearing is because somebody got their feelings hurt in a debate, and I don't understand why we're wasting taxpayer dollars. Next time, tell your big boy to show up and be ready to handle the woman in the room who hopefully will become the next president of the United States. Nevertheless, while we do have two amazing authors from Project 2025, which it seems like everybody got the memo, like, yes, I'm a double down and say it's my thing, but I'm gonna make sure I also say that it ain't our homeboys thing, because we know that it doesn't poll very well with the American people, because the American people are woke enough to recognize that there is nothing good in it for them. And the final thing that I will say is that this election, I didn't ask you a question. The final thing that I will say is that this election is the best example of why y'all are so afraid of diversity, equity, and inclusion, because then you can't have a simple-minded, underqualified white man somehow end up ascending. Instead, you've got to pay attention to the qualified black woman that is on the other side. And with that, I will yield.
For someone who claims to be a tech genius, Elon Musk has somehow turned a platform designed for sharing news and ideas into a dumpster fire of bad takes, conspiracy theories, and random thoughts that would make even the most unhinged person pause. You can practically hear Kamala's dry chuckle as she watches Musk tweet his way into the history books of social media fails. It's almost as if he's trying to set a world record for saying the dumbest thing. How Musk can go from making a few valid points about tech innovation to posting something so out of left field. You wonder if he's just trying to stir the pot. And that's the thing about Musk. He thrives on chaos. It's almost like he's determined to prove he's not just a businessman, but a disruptor of, well, everything. Kamala, who's had her fair share of dealing with this kind of rhetoric, wasn't about to let that slide. She knows exactly how to put Musk in his place without getting caught in the muck. Kamala's style? Diplomacy with a generous side of sass. She can roast you, throw shade, and still make it look like a TED Talk on how to avoid being a walking disaster. The key? No yelling necessary. Her words hit harder than anything Trump or Musk could throw at her, and that's because she knows sarcasm and wit will always beat tantrums and egos. What's truly delicious about Kamala's takedown of Trump and Musk is how effortlessly she exposes their flaws. With Trump, she doesn't even need to mention his constant gaffes or outdated thinking. His entire persona is practically begging for a roast. Kamala simply highlights the absurdity. His policies were like a bad buffet, plenty of options, but none worth trying. As for his endless stream of nonsense, Kamala doesn't need to say much. The chaos speaks for itself. When it comes to Musk, she doesn't have to directly call out every absurd tweet to make him look ridiculous. Musk's mix of trying to be an innovator and a reality TV star is already a spectacle. Kamala just sits back, knowing full well that all she has to do is let these two talk long enough, and they'll do the work for her. No tech gimmicks or social media stunts can outshine a perfectly timed burn.
Understanding our power in the democracy we still have if we hold on to it. Courage is contagious.
What could have been, everyone? What could have been? That, of course, was former Vice President Kamala Harris speaking at a summit of women leaders earlier this evening. It's one of the first times we've seen her speak out since her November election loss. She hasn't been out there a ton. We'll see if she comes out more. She also spoke about the
beauty of Kamala's delivery is that she never has to raise her voice to make her point. Kamala is like the calm, composed person who knows exactly what to say to make you wish you'd never opened your mouth. She lets her words land like a perfectly timed punch, and the crowd, they're absolutely here for it. At the end of the day, this live TV moment wasn't about Trump or Musk getting the final word. It was about Kamala Harris showing us all that sometimes the best way to handle oversized egos is with a well-placed eye roll and a sprinkle of sarcasm. Let's be honest, Trump and Musk can't hold a candle to someone who speaks truth effortlessly without breaking a sweat.
Last night, you may have seen I went on Fox News. Doing that, Donald Trump was at a Univision town hall where a voter asked him about January 6th. Okay, so now we here know January 6th was a tragic day. It was a day of terrible violence. There were attacks on law enforcement. 140 law enforcement officers were injured. Some were killed. And what did Donald Trump say last night about January 6th? He called it a, quote, a day of love. But it points out something that everyone here knows. The American people are exhausted with his gaslighting.
Let's take a moment to appreciate the sheer consistency of Donald Trump's incompetence. He's turned alienating allies and making enemies out of experts into an art form, somehow managing to transform every situation into a circus. Kamala didn't even need to dig deep into the specifics of his presidency to expose his massive failures. She knew exactly how to approach it. Why point out the obvious wreckage when you can just sit back and watch it burn itself out? Trump's policies. We're like that uninvited guest at a party who drinks too much and starts a fight. But Kamala's response was all about showcasing his complete disregard for anything resembling competent leadership. When she turned her attention to Musk, it was clear. Kamala was the calm in the storm. Musk is like the guy who buys a shiny new toy and spends all his time bragging about it, but no one's really impressed. Sure, he can launch cars into space, but when it comes to making solid decisions here on Earth, well, that's a whole different ballgame. Kamala didn't need to address his every tweet or public meltdown. Why? Because every public statement Musk makes only adds fuel to the fire of his own downfall. Kamala let him dig his own grave, and honestly, it was almost too easy.
And this former president...
What's your favorite curse word?
I can't say it. It starts with an M and it ends with a. Not ER.
As Kamala effortlessly takes them down, it's a reminder that sometimes being clever is far more powerful than just being loud. While Trump and Musk are out there trying to dominate the room with their voices, Kamala is sitting back, letting her sharp wit do all the heavy lifting. After all, why yell when you can dismantle them with style? It's clear that Kamala Harris isn't new to the political banter game, but unlike Trump, who loves shouting from the rooftops, or Musk, who's too busy launching rockets to remember he's still grounded on Earth, Kamala understands that silence can be her strongest weapon. Let her opponents rant, because every time they open their mouths, Kamala takes another step closer to proving that their antics are just distractions. And distractions, well, Kamala doesn't have time for those. It's almost poetic how her calm, calculated approach cuts through the chaos surrounding Trump and Musk, making their noise look all the more futile.
When one person, when a few stand with the courage, that is the courage exhibited by the leaders in this room every day, to stand, to have the courage to say, I feel fear. The courage to say what is happening is wrong. The courage to say that there is a way that we must chart to get through this.
If there's one thing Trump and Musk have in common, it's their love for chaos. Whether it's Trump's inflammatory rhetoric or Musk's Twitter tantrums, neither can resist turning every situation into a loud, messy spectacle. Kamala, on the other hand, just sits there, arms crossed, with a smirk that says, "Keep talking, boys, I'm just getting started." So the next time these two open their mouths, remember, Kamala Harris doesn't need to shout to be heard. Her words speak for themselves, and that's all she needs to remind us just how out of touch these two really are. Trump may have built an empire, but Kamala's mastering the art of the perfect takedown. As for Elon Musk, well, he's still trying to figure out how to tweet his way out of a paper bag.